Good evening. I'd like to call the Plan Commission to order for Monday, August 27th. The first order of business is that we have a roll call of the plan members.
Farrell.
Here.
Keach.
Here.
Nip. Here. Ritterbusch.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Elam. Here. Smock.
Here.
Westlake.
Here.
Zobrist.
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next order of business is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting of July 23rd. It is on the back side of the agenda. Do any of the members have any comments or questions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to approve the minutes as published.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second that the minutes of the last meeting be approved. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes are approved. The next section of the meeting agenda tonight is our public hearing section. And I'd ask our attorney to give a brief explanation of how we conduct the public hearings.
Absolutely. Public hearings being held tonight are held pursuant to published notice. The Plan Commission will hear comments from the public for those wishing to speak. It will ultimately make its recommendation tonight. Its recommendation will be passed along, so its decision is a recommendation tonight. Before you speak, you'll be sworn in by the court reporter before you can address the board.
Thank you very much. The first item under the public hearing agenda is a pre-annexation. Subject property is Orchard Hills, Section 8, subdivision, part of southwest half of the southwest one-quarter section of 22, Township 25 North, Range 3 West, consisting of 3.184 acres, plus minus, to be zoned R1. As I understand it, there is no one here to present that this evening, and they have asked the staff that this public hearing item be continued to a future meeting. Is there a motion from the commission to continue this public hearing item until a future meeting?
I'll make a motion to continue.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second that this public hearing item be continued to a future meeting. Ask that the roll be called.
Keach.
Yes.
Nip. Yes. Smock.
Yes.
Westlake.
Yes.
Zobrist.
Yes.
Elam. Yes. Farrell.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Yes.
Ritterbusch. Thank you.
The second item under public hearing is the continuation of a petition number 12-03 SP. Family Video is seeking a special use permit for an outdoor dining and drinking area on its property at 608 South Main Street, Zone B2. Is there anyone in the audience tonight that would like to speak to this matter? Yes, would you swear in by the clerk?
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you proceed to the podium, the microphone, state your name, address for us?
Victor Fuentes, 1101 El Camino in Pekin, Illinois. We're here to, we're trying to do a beer garden in 608 Main Street. It's going to be 28 by 28, and it's going to give us around 8 more tables of seating. We're trying to do a new Mexican restaurant there, and it's going to have a 6-foot fence with a door in case of an emergency and ambulance, and a separate door for the entrance, the main entrance to the inside of the building.
Could you point out on the screen the
Yes.
location of this beer garden?
We'll be right here. We'll be taking 3 parking spaces. We'll be right in front of the building. And there will be a metal fence all around it. There will be a door on this side for any emergencies that might happen. And we're gonna have a door right inside the building for the people that enter the restaurant.
Okay, thank you very much. Could I ask if any of the Plan Commission members have any questions or comments of the presenter?
Do you realize that you can't smoke within 15 feet of that door?
Correct.
So you're going to be losing a significant amount of that space for anyone smoking will not be able to stay within that radius.
Right. We just trying to get some more tables for people to sit that they're not gonna be smoking or anything.
I have a concern about just the proximity that it is to residential areas and to family video itself, which obviously is frequented by children. So I may be voting no on this for that reason. I just want to explain my vote.
Okay.
The fence that you're putting on this, is this going to be a privacy fence?
It's gonna be a metal fence with easy viewing for emergencies.
So people will be able to see in and out of?
Right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
It might be useful just to remind the plan commissioners that the arrangements for entry and exit and emergency access and the fence size and design are consistent with the liquor ordinance that applies for the creation of a beer garden.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from Plan Commission? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve the petition number 12-03 SP.
So moved.
Motion's
Second that.
been made, there's a second. Any further discussion? If not, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll on this petition.
Ritterbusch,
Yes?
Westlake,
No.
Zobrist,
Yes.
Smock,
No.
Neff,
Yes.
Rhine,
Yes.
Keach,
Yes.
Farrell,
Yes.
Elam.
Yes.
Thank you.
The petition is approved. Thank you for your presentation tonight. The next item on the agenda is petition number 12-04 SP. Kroger Company is seeking a special use permit for a fuel center at 845 West Jackson Plaza. This is currently a property that is zone B2. Is there someone here from Kroger Company or someone that would represent them tonight? Yes, would you swear in? Proceed to the microphone, state your name and address for the benefit of the Plan Commission.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Gary Zumwalt, Zumwalt Associates, Engineering Consultants, 1040 West Olympia Drive in Peoria. Represent Kroger Company on this submittal for approval tonight. I believe you have the site plan in front of you. Of course, our submittal is for the 1 acre parcel in the left-hand corner, property pointing on the private roadway called Martha's Parkway. Our site plan shows the truck turning template movements, which is very critical for the fuel center, how that's going to work. The fuel center lot will connect to the existing parking lot over here on the west side. The fuel transport trucks will come in Martha's Parkway, will enter coming down on this west side, circulate back to the underground tanks on the south side, and then come back out to our new entrance approach on Martha's Parkway. If there's any questions, I do have Dan DeSicchio with Kroger Real Estate Department here with me tonight, and I do have also Natalie Mao with their engineering department if there are specific questions concerning the facility. The site plan, in talking to Dan, talking about the existing parking lot to the west, it has been brought up, I think Roger first brought this up to my attention this afternoon, that the traffic flow as we come to the end aisle, this is a one-way aisle coming this way, driving aisle, and that we have some people that are coming back the wrong way. I believe Mr. DeSicchio is willing to look at that and be favorable to widening that drive out to create a two-way drive. He also mentioned before the hearing started that Kroger would certainly be in favor of adding more highlighted striping with arrows, and especially in this last lane of creating some separation of creating the laneage with some good striping that will, I think, help direct traffic flow in that along that side. So this was one item that Roger just brought up today to me, and I think Kroger is certainly in favor of looking at this.
Okay. Well, the drawing you provided for the agenda shows two-way traffic there, and currently it's only one-way traffic, as you indicated, coming from the top of the screen down. And I know I've been over there coming the right way when people were coming the wrong way, and it's too narrow for passage now, so this would be widened then to conform to the drawing as you've shown it in our agenda. Is that correct?
Yes, well, let me elaborate on that a little bit. The two-way traffic comes down to only a portion. If you look on our site plan, the two-way traffic comes down. If you look at where the parking spaces are on the back side, there's a curb work around there. So the two-way traffic, according to our site plan now, would end and then go in, continue in the present one-way. Do you follow me on that?
Yes, I see that now, because there's 3 arrows on the one side and 2 on the other.
Right.
So that's what you're showing there, that at that curbway that's formed on the south side. Can you show approximately on the screen where that's at?
Well, yes, coming back, I mean, we're probably up in here where the two-way will end and go back into the present one-way traffic. Now, what the village has pointed out is that, okay, we have the two-way down to a certain point, but the recommendation was, let's eliminate some parking down these last 6 spaces and create the two-way width all the way down. And then if we add the proper striping to enhance that for the drivers, I mean, we can really do a nice job of striping up at the entry up Northwest Parkway and down here, and maybe some skip striping to separate the lanes. But the point was, hey, you've got two-way down to a certain point, but then you go into the present one-way. People are still coming up this way, so why not widen it all the way down and have two-way traffic flow?
Okay. Any questions from the Planning Commission members on this?
The amount of the width of the two-way, is it very similar to the Martha's Parkway in width that would come up across there, come up that first row?
Well, yeah, you're talking about coming down that aisle?
Yep.
Which would be 24 feet there. But if we were to continue that on down, we would just continue the 24 feet for a two-way driving lane width.
Okay.
All the way down.
And when you were talking about the tractor trailer trucks having access to here, you're primarily talking about for filling, not for that being a customer that's going to come fill their truck up, correct?
No, I'm talking about mainly for the fuel transport trucks. In fact, that's the template movement we show on the drawing, circulating back around the south side.
And then, I guess this might be a question for Roger. What are we doing for green space, similar to what we had with Mike Murphy Ford, what we did there? Are we doing something similar with green space for this?
Yeah, there is a lane, you've got that, it's labeled 2 of 2, page 2 of 2.
Oh.
That's the landscape.
I had a concern with people that come into Morton from the interstate that see that Kroger gas station. If they're filling up from gas at Kroger, it's very hard to get back from out of there back onto the interstate. Because when you come up to that turn, you have to go left, and then you're forced to take a right on Morton Ave. And I'm concerned that then someone's not going to know where to go, and there's going to be a lot of U-turns up over there by the truck entrance to Caterpillar, and just about that congestion in that general area. Has there been any discussion about that, or?
I don't think we've discussed that with the village. I mean, there's two ways of coming out here. I mean, our circulation right now is showing coming back out to Martha's Parkway, and either the traffic flow is going to come back out through the center, coming back out to that main entrance, or we're going to be coming back out, taking a right down at Jackson down there, coming back out that way. That would be the two movements. Which other truck activity coming from, whether it be KFC or the other stores, are going to have to follow a similar pattern of wherever they're going to exit.
So the question you had on the traffic is that coming out of there, the way they show the transport trucks coming out of the station, they have to make a right and go south on Morton Avenue and go back on the Jackson and then figure out some way. There's no real way to get to the interstate at that point. You have to.
Not a quick way. And my more concern is people that don't know Morton that just come off the highway and they know I'm going to get gas there, and then all of a sudden they're trying to figure out how to get back. You know, that whole area is just a little not ideal for traffic. But I don't know if you're planning on
something directing them back toward the interstate.
I think the signage would be important to further signage. I mean, they come back and they obviously have the signage for no left turn coming back toward the interstate, but I think additional signage would probably be helpful here to direct people back to the interstate.
On how to get back to the interstate. Yep. Yeah, that would be. And your intent, I know I heard you talk in the previous meeting, is for the Kroger customers. So for the local clientele, I don't have that concern. I didn't know, do you have any intentions of advertising on the highway just to bring customers into the gas station?
I think Dan can answer that, Dan Sekiel.
We get Dan sworn in, Arlene, since it's a new meeting.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Those are all good questions. No, we don't have any intention of drawing traffic off of the highway to our fuel center. This is really geared towards the Morton community. We have a store here. We don't have a fuel center here. People can't redeem their fuel credits because we don't have a fuel center to do it. And this solves that problem. We're not going to be putting signs on the highway. We do have signs on highways at other locations where people can get off the highway and get back onto the highway with little or no trouble. This is not one of those locations, and we have many locations like this where we don't try to draw traffic off of a highway in order to get business at the fuel center. It's really geared towards the Morton community, the people that shop at our store, and those people that want to redeem their credits at our store fuel center.
Thank you. Any other questions from?
I have a question before you leave, sir. Sure. It's not land related, but it's more related to the lighting that would be under the major canopies. That we not have a lot of spillage back into the private backyards. I guess it would be on the south side.
I've got an expert here for that.
Yeah, okay.
Our Natalie Mao.
Good.
She's in our engineering department, sir.
Good.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Natalie Mao at 1510 Foothill Court, Wheaton, Illinois, and I'm a construction project manager for Kroger. And at this site, as well as all our sites going forward, we are installing LED lighting under our canopies, which makes for a beautifully lit spot right at your dispenser, but it throws very little light. As you start to step away from the fuel center, the light drops off significantly, and I think we forwarded Gary a lighting plan, but yeah, it throws very little light, and within, I think, 5 to 10 feet, you've dropped off to 1.5 foot candles.
Okay, any other questions?
I was curious, the hours of operation for the...
You know, I don't know what they will be at this site. I know typically it's 1 hour before the store opens to 1 hour after the store opens. We have some sites where we apply for unattended fuel sales. I don't know if that's the intent here.
Yeah, here it'll be 7 to 11, where you'll have attendance between those hours, and after 11 o'clock at night until 7 o'clock the next morning, you'll have people will be able to use the pumps with credit cards. And we haven't quite gotten it to the point yet where they can use the cash dispensers yet.
Yeah, it's only credit card.
But it's just credit cards after 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning.
Okay. Any other questions?
I guess I have another question. Because we had this come up when we were doing family video around, surrounding the dumpsters and things like that, since there will be landowners behind this. Where would the dumpsters be stored in here, and what would be around them from?
I don't believe we have dumpsters on site. We have, any merchandise or any waste is taken back to the store. It's considered a department of our store.
So
Okay.
then that ends up back at the back of Kroger, towards the interstate? Okay. And then I'm assuming, Roger, these are already platted lots, so that we already have figured out what type of business goes back into this little section?
Well, it's going to be, and they do have an idea of, they're working with clients on the rest of that property right now.
Okay. Is there anything that we need to know before we put a gas station right there that would cause us to regret that in the future because of these businesses?
Well, the person that's doing the developing is selling this lot, so I would assume that's not an issue, a concern to him, so.
Well, this is all Zone B2, right, that whole parcel? And because the way it's shown here, north is B2, east is B2, south is B2, west is B2, so everything surrounding it is also B2, so anything that would go in would be a B2 use. So that should not be a problem. This is not a conflict on that. Okay, well, thank you very much. If there's no further questions from the Plan Commission, thank you very much for your presentation. I now ask for a motion on the special use permit, or the 12-04.
I'd make a motion to approve, but I'd like to add that that would be contingent on what was spoken about the two-way traffic on the east end of the existing parking lot.
So your motion is asking that, as explained, the two-way traffic would exist for the whole length of that stretch there, all the way from the top of the screen to the bottom property where the parking lot ends, where that L is in that parking lot. So they would end up having to relinquish some of the parking spaces and then stripe that so that you would have a traffic flow full two-way through there, okay?
Second that motion.
Motion been made and second that we approve this with the changes that were presented by the person making motion. Clerk, did you get all of that down?
Yes, Chairman, I did.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, I'd ask that the clerk call the roll.
Farrell,
Yes.
Knipp,
Yes.
Ritterbusch,
Yes?
Smock,
Yes.
Elam. Yes. Keach,
Yes.
Rhine,
Yes.
Westlake,
Yes.
Zober.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, petition is granted. Now, this will go to the village board. All of these motions will go to the village board at their next meeting, which will be
September the 4th, Tuesday.
September the 4th, Tuesday, not the Monday, but the Tuesday. Okay, well, thank you for your participation tonight. The next public hearing item is related to residential commercial use, mixed use in the downtown Old Morton area. And there is an agenda sheet included. The change that applies to zoning section 10-6-2B6, living quarters above or adjoining businesses not to exceed one apartment if the property is located within the Old Morton district as designated on the map in 10-8-9 of the Morton Municipal Code. The special use requirement for living quarters does not apply. And then there's this second part would be added to it. in 10-6-2A8 to read as follows. In the old Morton Business District, living quarters above or adjoining a business not to exceed 1 apartment. That's the proposal that has been presented by staff for the Plan Commission. Is there any discussion?
Could you explain it a little bit to me, what we're changing it from? What we had in the ordinance and now what it will be? This language in front of us is what we're changing it to, correct?
Right. Yeah, that is what we're changing to.
Okay.
6.
You don't happen to have a picture of it, do you? Of the old Morton, the zone?
I don't, but I have the map here. I can.
Because there's that big one that went all over downtown. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can pass this around if you'd like to look at it.
No, I know what you're talking about now. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like a sub-zone.
Are we basically saying that you can have no more than 1 apartment above a business? Is that what we're saying?
That's what this says.
Yeah. So that
All I was trying to do is get you something to start with.
Okay.
So you didn't just have a blank sheet of paper.
Okay.
I'm not, yeah.
So would that preclude us from ever seeing a development that would have a multiple apartment unit building above a ground story of businesses? Would that keep us from having that?
If you go back to the zoning code the way it is right now, under A, we only go to 7. So what we're going to do is take the clause that's listed in agenda item 2 here in the Old Morton District, living quarters above or adjoining not to exceed 1 apartment. That's currently requires a special use. So what we're saying is that we're going to take that up to a permitted use.
Oh, I see.
So that you do not have to go through the special use process to have an apartment above a business, still not to exceed 1. And then in under special uses, which is maybe this is a little redundant, living quarters above or adjoining business not to exceed if the property is located within the Old Morton. You do not have to go through the special use requirement. So this just eliminates for someone who would be interested in pursuing this approach to not have to come before us for special use.
For 1
apartment. It is a permitted use for 1 apartment. Now, if they wanted to go 2 apartments, I presume they'd still have to come back for special use.
That's probably what we would have to negotiate right now or put into words, language, how you want that to be worded.
Would it be appropriate to add per business at the end of that statement? Want to exceed 1 apartment per business? Does that make sense?
I feel if we're going to start to mess with the number of apartments allowable above a building, we probably should make it based on square footage of the base, so that there's some sort of a footprint that can be followed by future developers and people who will be looking at potentially doing something like this.
Can I ask why, I mean, if we're going to cross the line to say we're going to allow apartments above a business, a side of a business, whatever it was here, I guess I'm not understanding why we want to limit it. I'm open to hear that. Maybe I'm missing something, but I'm just saying if somebody wants to do a business and they've got enough room above it and they want 2 apartments, we're going to allow 1, why wouldn't I? I mean, I don't see a reason I would be opposed to 2 there.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, whatever it fits for. They'd have to come for building permit. It would have to meet the criteria that are required for egress and emergency safety, life safety things and whatnot. So I guess
Parking would be the only other issue, but I think that's what they're looking for.
That would also have to meet it too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think they're looking for our feedback here on this.
I think one of the things, you're going to want to get this.
This is going to be real good. You were saying?
What I was going to say is, when I went to work on this, I was thinking, we haven't done this before.
Right.
So I was looking at it more, okay, we're kind of sneaking up on this thing, and I'm not saying I don't agree with what you said, Phil. I thought, well, I want to give them a little something to start with, and then
Right.
they can jump on it and do whatever they need to do to it.
I don't have a strong opinion either way. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think, why would I care? Why does somebody have to go through the exercise of a special use to get 2 apartments if it allows it to fit up there and they can do everything else that would be required by a building permit? Then I guess I'm not seeing a reason I'd be wanting to see somebody have to do that.
Is there currently a minimum square footage for an apartment, or is that not regulated at all?
There is in normal residential, but not
Right.
not in multifamily type.
This is why we need to address, probably from the footprint of the building up, how many can be allowed, and sort of set the parameters for that in here with, probably being pro-business or pro-development without creating too much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Maybe part of the explanation is that initially this is occurring with buildings that were formerly residences. Some of the, in particular, this house on Jefferson Street. I think maybe for many people looking at it, there was kind of a supposition that in a house that size, a single apartment upstairs was probably about the practical limit. And the other thing, of course, is the language in the contract for the sale of this house, which requires retail downstairs. So it's a first step in moving towards the solution of the problem, if you want to call it that, that was addressed last year with the presentation on mixed-use zoning and kind of feeling our way forward. I don't think there's anything here that we see as kind of magical about limiting to 1 apartment, but we need something to start with for this particular housing unit, and then progress from there until we have something that looks like a good comprehensive provision for whatever, because there are people who've talked about building downtown and having businesses below and multiple living units above, maybe condominiums. So it's certainly been done in other communities. It just isn't addressed at this point.
Is it because we don't want to write something into an ordinance at this time about that? We sort of want to just sort of address it as we go?
I think it's mostly just because our starting point was this one unit, and as you and Mr. Smock identified in your presentation last year, there are a lot of variables here. So that I think the feeling was we get one done, we know what we're doing, and then we move to the next one. I don't think that anybody in village staff or village board would find it difficult if you wanted to modify that, come up with a better definition. We just need something to get started so that this person who purchased the building has got a clear sense of guidance and doesn't necessarily need to come back for the.
Okay.
And the idea was to facilitate people taking these buildings and converting them and not having to come back for special use permit.
I feel better about knowing that as opposed to this is our solution to mixed use zoning, you know what I mean?
This is one step.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a very small step.
Very-
All you're doing really, what you're changing now is just saying that in the old Morton district, you do not need a
Right.
special use permit to have 1 apartment above or alongside of a business in the same building.
Yeah. And if you want to do something else, yes, you still need special, which gives the Plan Commission some level of control over those propositions by potential buyers and the village board likewise.
I have a clarification question. I may be slow on the draw here, but it seems like if we added both of these, we'd be saying, on one hand, if you were requesting an apartment, 1 apartment, it would be permitted, but then it would also be, that same statement would be located in special use, that it would require a special use permit.
Well, the special use is for areas outside of the old Morton district. So the way it is written right now, under B1, any B1 zoning, you can have a special use permit for living quarters above or adjoining business not to exceed 1 apartment. We're going to retain that for areas outside of the Morton the old Morton Business District.
But it says in the old Morton Business District.
You do not need to request a special use. You can go just through the normal building permit process if you're rehabbing or something, and or you can even, if you don't have to rehab, you can basically just put an apartment in the building without any zoning notification.
So it would seem to me that the first statement should say if the property is not located within the old Morton Business District, then you'd need a special use.
Well, this is where you get into legal language of, because you're saying that the requirement for special use, which is the second one, is not applicable if you're in the old Morton district. See, that the part, the one that's labeled 2 on our agenda sheet is added. Are you looking at page 10-6-2?
Yeah.
Okay, under A, there's only 7 items that are permitted now. We're going to add, the second one is number 8. That's AA.
I understand that part.
Yep. So then the other one that goes under B, and it says living quarters not exceeding. It still allows that in other zoning areas that are B1 that are not in the old Morton zoning area.
Right.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, as I read it, all you're doing is create, the 2 changes create consistency. So by adding it as a permitted use, you need to look to your special uses and limit the special use provision to outside business district. So you could say it one of 2 ways. You could say it as you suggested, which is outside the old Morton Business District, you have to have a special use. Or you can say it the way it's written, which is the living quarters, the mixed use is a special use unless you're in the old Morton Business District. So
I like the way I suggested it.
6 1/2.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
Everybody's a writer.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, you know,
Yes.
if someone were coming to, say, the downtown area, and they had a development with commercial shops on the main floor and residential areas above, they're probably going to have to come back here anyway for, I don't know what the thing, but that could be one of the things. If they need a special use for 6 units, we could do that at that time. I don't know how this is all going to.
I guess that's my question. If we are unsure ourselves what we're doing with the mixed use downtown, why would we go ahead with putting ourselves out there where someone could come in and build a piece out without having special use? Or, I mean, it makes sense to me, like if there are some of the buildings that are existing down there, and it has a apartment above and the building below, but we don't know what the new buildings are. Maybe there's a way we can state this about if it's an existing building that it falls under here, and if it's a new construction, it requires the special use, so that we are understanding what's being built down there as we walk through this process of building out downtown Morton at some point, so that everybody is getting what we need down there.
Well, the developer always has the option to go to the zoning board of appeals to ask for a variance on a permitted use.
Right.
So I guess if someone would come with something like that and want to put 6 apartments above a business, they would have to ask for a variance from the zoning.
Yeah, that's not addressed right now. What do you think?
I think they'd have to, the way I read your changes, they'd have to come back for the special use.
Special use.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, you're
More
okay
than-
without a special use for one, as I see it, more than one in the downtown Old Morton district, or even one outside the Old Morton district, but in the business district is a special use.
It wouldn't be a variance that they would be seeking,
They'd be seeking a special use for more than one.
more than one.
More than one in the Old Morton district and even one in any other business district.
Either if they come to the plan commission or to the zoning board of appeals, it's still basically the same process.
Right.
They can do that. But all we're doing with this is making it more friendly in the old Morton district.
Yeah.
It's a permitted use now. It used to be a special use, so you don't have to go through the hassle of doing the special use process. You can just do it because it's permitted use. So that's the only change we're really looking at right now, is just making it simpler for in that part of the village so that people can respond. And it, you know, it's probably helpful because going for a special use is always work for a developer. If you don't have to do that, it's much easier.
Could I ask a question that might just make it more complicated, and that is, what is an apartment? Let's say you have a house that's, you know, two-story house, got a couple of bedrooms upstairs, and someone says, I'm going to sell widgets on the lower level, and I'm going to have my apartment upstairs, which is actually just a couple of bedrooms and a bathroom, but my kitchen's downstairs. And my, you know, my laundry is downstairs, and in the basement is the whatchamacallit, and I've actually got a bedroom on the main level too, but, you know, is that something that we need to address at this time?
Well, the definition of apartment is a room or suite of rooms with complete kitchen and sanitary facilities in a structure designed to accommodate 2 or more such units.
And your change actually uses the term living quarters as opposed to apartment. Yeah. So for the purpose of this change, the definition of concern would be living quarters as I read it. Right. And the second thing about the change is it would allow above or adjoining. So,
but we use the word apartment in the paragraph also.
Yeah, use it in the same sentence.
I think one of the restrictions there would be the actual building code, which would require a fire separation between uses, between business and residential, so you'd have to have that continuous fire separation, so that might be the item.
I know,
that defines
it's a little more complicated. It's fairly complicated.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons for the small step.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, clearly we've got people who live above the shop. And they own the business and they also live there. This wording, I think, addresses the case where somebody has a business in the downstairs, may rent the apartment out upstairs as a separate, self-contained unit. It gets sticky when you start talking about whether, you know, if you've got a kitchen downstairs, well, a lot of businesses may have kitchens, you know, break area or whatever, and,
right.
and certainly would have some sort of bathroom. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really aimed at the case where somebody says, okay, I'm going to have an XYZ business down here, and maybe that person doesn't even live on the premises, they live somewhere else, operate a business downstairs, rent out the apartment above. The idea originally, I think, was to facilitate people living in or living over the shop, as the expression goes, and help make that easier and more attractive. But in those cases, I would guess they would have, I mean, how do you conduct an argument that says, well, you're supposed to be living upstairs, but you got a, you know,
right,
kitchen or an eating area or something downstairs.
Or a bedroom.
Yeah. Well, bedroom I think would be easier to argue about, but that's someplace we just haven't gotten to yet. And
I think Roger's
again,
statements addressed it a little bit. You know,
yeah.
Our definition of what an apartment is,
yeah.
although it's slightly different.
But that's, I think, again, that's what motivated us to look at this as sort of one step. We've got a perfect example downtown right now, newly acquired building, former house. And as we gain some experience with this, then I think the Plan Commission has an opportunity to give some more input and some really great work last year implementing that now is kind of the next step. So it's up to you in the end to recommend to the village board, but our intent was to accommodate what we know we have and then address later on what we hope to have.
You have a comment, Mr. Mayor?
Sure do. I want to reaffirm what Steve's saying is the basic wording on here, Steve and I are very much in agreement on. And the idea of a special use for more than one I think is very appropriate at this time. Mr. Keach was the architect on a building next to ISU that had the businesses on the first floor and then, what is it, 4 stories?
3 above that.
3 above that. If you've looked at the downtown plan, although that isn't in stone, it is a plan, there is mixed-use zoning there. And the reason is to help offset the cost of the rent for the first floor. You have apartments above it. And so when the first floor is empty, you're still taking money in for the person who owns it. And so it's important that we have this concept. But it's also important, I think, at this very initial stage, to still require the special use for the floors beyond the second floor. We don't necessarily, and I can't remember, the other ones that are close by that building are 8 or 10 stories tall.
There are a few that are, I don't think there are quite that many, but yeah,
But they're large.
5 or 6.
They're extremely large.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's what the downtown plan should be. I don't think any of us would know at this point where it's at. With a special use, though, we can start being more specific and not necessarily let a developer put a 20-story building, which they're not going to do, but we can limit that. On the other hand, if we want 3 or 4-story ones, the board can tell you we would like you to review this again and possibly change from from the second floor to the first. So this is definitely a good start. I didn't intend to take Steve's session here, but you do have somebody who on your board that has done this and has been the architect of the plan, and I think very well understands what the potential is down the way. So thank you for listening to me.
Any further discussion from the Plan Commission?
I think one thing we need to, that we want to try to avoid is the situation where you have basically a house where downstairs is kind of a permanent garage sale situation. And I've seen this in Peoria. If you drive down Knoxville, you might see a business that's basically a home with garage, with things strewn out about in the lawn and a big open sign. And obviously people are living in the house and maybe above in the second story. But so I think that's one of the things we're really concerned about is the guidelines that will prevent that kind of image from happening. And I'm sure there's things in place, but that's the kind of thing that I think about, that I worry about as far as the guidelines go.
I think once we've kind of opened the can, we just have to keep working on it. It's going to be the kind of thing where we have to sort of keep looking at it and how we, like you say, Craig, I think, making sure, and improving this if we're going to do it this way. Try to anticipate those things. And
there are some zoning ordinances would address the concerns that Commissioner Smock has identified, and they would apply equally to a mixed-use operation.
Okay, any further discussion, or do you feel you're ready to take some action on this, or do you want to continue this for another meeting and think about it a little bit more and see if we want to clarify the wording? I guess the one is, in looking at this, if we put it in a permitted use, essentially this would allow any type of business where the living quarters are above to be a permitted use. Now, the permitted uses currently are offices, medical and dental clinics, and barber and beauty shops. But if we just move that from a special use to a permitted use, we really don't specify the type of business that is a permitted use under this new A8. So I wonder if that's a question.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing we're doing is the living quarters. The special uses or permitted uses aren't changing. You still have to have the proper zoning to be, you know, a tanning salon. It'd still have to be a B2 zoning.
Okay.
We're not doing anything with the permitted or special uses that are listed there.
Okay, so you're saying that under B1, you could not, because you're just saying now it has a living quarters above it, you could not go in and pick up a gift shop from B2
Correct.
and put it on there?
Correct,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
But Old Morton's is mostly B2, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all B.
But if you have a real estate office, you could live above it, because the real estate
Correct.
office is a B1.
Right.
So a real estate office, a barber shop, or a beauty shop, you could live above that,
Right.
because that's a permitted use in B1. But if you go outside of those 7 permitted uses,
Yep.
you could not go into B2 or B3 and bring in that type of business and live
No.
above it.
No.
Okay, well, that helps, I think, clarify.
It goes the other way. If you're in B2, you can do the B1 things, but not that. It's not in
Right.
B1. You can't do those B2 things.
Is that a fairly comprehensive list of the things that we'd be looking at, seeing for the business?
Well, in B1, it's either home, a regional district office, branch office, not to include retailing, wholesale, and trucking, manufacturer, advertising, signs, or displays. Then you got office for educational, fraternal, professional, or religious organizations. Real estate and insurance offices, the offices of doctors, dentists, lawyers, architect, engineers. So any of those people could have the office on the first floor, live above it. Office for governmental agencies, medical and dental clinics, barber and beauty shops. Those are the only permitted uses in B1. So that pretty well restricts to what type of business. So I don't see any retail shops as such that are selling merchandise.
Well,
They
most
would
of the
all-
area is B2.
They're all B2. And
Most
B-
of the area is B2.
So this is really, when you get down to the zoning map and overlay it, this is really very limited.
The only thing that really changes here is the permissibility of living above the
Living
shop,
above.
having an apartment, and the only thing we're changing with respect to that is to make it a permitted use. Otherwise, all of the existing zoning ordinances apply. So it's unlikely that you could have a situation, and I know the place you're talking about with respect to the permanent garage sale in Peoria. In fact, there are a couple of them in Knoxville. And, but that's not that probably would not pass muster under either B1 or B2 for Morton. And the display area, of course, would be limited in any case.
Okay, any other?
I just have a comment that my initial questions and concerns are answered.
Okay.
And I like the idea of moving toward mixed zoning, mixed-use zoning, so. I
So
think
would you
this
like
is
to make a motion?
I would make a motion that we approve these.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion made and second that we approve this wording for change to the B1 code, the 10.10-6-2, A and B. Would the clerk call the roll?
Knapp?
Yes.
Ritterbusch?
Yes.
Rhine?
Yes.
Elam?
Yes.
Farrell?
Yes.
Keach?
Yes.
Smock?
Yes.
Westlake?
Yes.
Silvers?
Yes.
Thank you.
That concludes our public hearing section of the meeting tonight. The next item is other business, and this was continued from our previous meeting with preliminary and final plats for Orchard Hills Section 8 subdivision. As I understand, because under the public hearing portion of this, we continued this to a future meeting. I would suggest that we also continue this portion to a future meeting, and we'll have to see if the developer ever takes us up on that, to come back again. And the whole idea of continuing so that we don't have to go start over the whole process, so it makes it easier for the developer. So is there a motion that we continue this agenda item to a future meeting?
So moved.
Motion made, second.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That'll be continued. Mr. Spangler, do you have anything for us tonight?
I've said too much already. So,
Mr. Newhouse?
Just one item you have in your packets, the notice for the Citizen Planner Workshop. This is being conducted under the auspices of the Tri-County Planning Commission, and I happen to know Nick Hayward, the principal here, and worked with him on the Caswell County Comprehensive Plan update. And if you have a chance to go, it's free. I think it would be time well spent on two grounds. One is that it may be some valuable material there, and the other is an assessment on your part as to how well these things work, because we continue to, hope we can find some material, some sources for continuing education for planners and plan commissioners and zoning board of appeals members. And as we know, given the availability of those resources in the past, we wound up writing our own sort of basic guidelines. So if you get a chance, please go.
Okay, thank you. So just give Nick a call or email?
Looks like it, yeah, email.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion that we adjourn? I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for coming today.